I was dead. No pulse, no brain waves. I was dead. Truly dead.
Okay, you were dead. Only you just didn't stay that way. Is that it?
I'm immortal.
You're certifiable. Give me the gun.
I hate this part.
What are you gonna do now? Shoot me?
Not exactly.
You will never get to taste my gnocchi. Welcome to the Highlander Rewatch podcast, the podcast where each and every week we talk about another facet of the Highlander universe. I'm one of your rewatchers. I'm Keith.
This is Kyle. And gnocchi, I'd taste that gnocchi.
You would taste that gnocchi?
I don't know. I think the immortal villain Mario busts out that line. I don't know. I imagine a murderer makes a good gnocchi.
Sure, why not? It's the most villainous of, pastas or Italian dishes or whatever. Very good.
I can sign on to that. It is the most villainous Italian dish.
I don't know. So welcome. This is the Highlander Rewatch podcast. We're now into episode 2 of our Raven coverage. Hope everybody enjoyed our comeback last week and us trudging our way through the first episode. It's certainly different, as we mentioned last week too. This is like not a rewatch really for us, but a watch. We've never seen these episodes before, so it's we don't have like the nostalgia built in. This is all pretty new to us. So also what we want to do is we want to be a little bit more positive about this show, since we perhaps got off to a rocky start when we first started recording these episodes in the summer. But
perhaps even a rocky start last week when we recorded
even that
first episode.
So this is the last week. My notes are like very in depth because I originally took these notes. Kyle, guess how many pages of notes I have on this episode.
Whatever the answer is going to be alarming. So I'm going to guess 15 pages.
45 pages of notes.
What?
There
Did you take a page of notes per minute of the episode?
Practically. It was really difficult, and I was upset a lot. It was very upsetting. There's a lot of like in-depth screenwriting stuff that we'll talk about some of it. We'll breeze over some of the other stuff because we can't get bogged down in it. But when we move forward into episode 3, we'll be a little less critical of our like in-depth analysis stuff. And we want to talk more about the characters, that sort of stuff. So that'll shorten the show down a bit and hopefully make it a little more bearable. So that's that. Also, before we get started, I did have 2 very quick things I wanted to read. And the first was a message we got on Patreon from Adam R. And I thought this was so entertaining. He says, I want you guys to know that when listening to the new episode today, I watched the prices for the Raven DVD sets go from $15 and then explode to several $100s and then no longer be available. Looks like you got a lot of people curious about the series. So wow, isn't that great?
What?
Wow, how about that?
I hope that's true. But that's wild.
Isn't that wild?
I feel like so I'm assuming he's talking about eBay.
Yeah, like eBay, Amazon. Like I know I got my copy on the DVD for like $23, 24. It really wasn't that bad on Amazon. Last time I checked Amazon a few days ago, it was like in the $60 range. So it was still higher, and there weren't as many copies available. So that's pretty interesting, I think. So thanks for that email. Also, Davis Panzer, if you want to send us little residuals on some of these sales, huh? That's totally fine too.
At least on Amazon Prime, the DVDs are indeed $61.
That's more expensive than they were.
How that's changed, and there's only one left in stock.
There you go, one left in stock. How about that, right? So thank you, Adam R, for that. Also, just want to give a quick shout out to a longtime contributor, Brian S. I just want to say thanks for your email. It was really good to hear from you. We're all thinking of you, bud, and we're glad this podcast can help you, and we're glad these new episodes are coming. for you to enjoy. So thank you very much, Brian S. I just want to say that. Anyway, Brian's. That's right. You ready to hop into this episode, Kyle?
Let's
all right,
do it. Like a bowl of gnocchi, I'm ravenous for this episode.
That's right. All right. Ravenous. That's like the evil version of hunger too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. We got to be the evil version of hungry for the evil version of pasta.
That's right. All right. So this is season 1, episode 2, full disclosure of Highlander: The Raven. This first aired October 3rd, 1998. This was directed by Peter Ellis. This is his first and only Raven episode, but Peter did 6 episodes of the Highlander series. He did Studies in Light. Hey, that's what the first episode of season 2. We like that. The Fighter.
Hey, you know what I mean, Richie?
Unholy Alliance 1 and 2. Okay, Manhunt.
We like a lot of these episodes.
And Dramatic License. All of these episodes are very good. Yeah, great.
Why not?
Sadly, they died in 2006 at the age of 58, which is a bummer.
That is a bummer.
This was written by James Thorpe. This is his first of 6 episodes. He did 8 episodes of Highlander, and he was brought on later in the he's the way some writers, I guess, were kind of early Highlander writers. You see Maury Ravinsky a lot in seasons 1 through 4, and then I think he does come back in season 6. But there's some other writers that are do maybe 4 episodes, but they're in season 1 and 2, and then you never hear from them again. James Thorpe comes in at the end of the Highlander run. So he did 8 episodes of Highlander, including Money No Object, The Valkyrie, Money No, Modern Prometheus.
That chestnut.
That's right. Diplomatic Immunity, Deadly Exposure, 2 of Hearts, and Indiscretions. There you go.
All right, a lot of soft pilots in there.
Yes, definitely, right? So we got some guest stars. This guest stars Carlo Rota as Mario Cardoza. This guy's been in a lot. Started in the early 90s with things like Forever Night, and Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. He's also been in shows he did 15 episodes of La Femme Nikita, Adventures Inc., which I know we've played the opening credits to, and James Thorpe was I think a producer on that. He also did 9 episodes of Queer as Folk, which has connections to Russell Mulcahy, who did a bunch of their episodes. And he was in 29 episodes of 24. And more recently,
that's just confusing.
Yeah, I know, right? That's very confusing. It's just being 24 episodes.
How dare he be
in,
in more than 24?
Would you like to see the show 29? We'd love that, right?
I mean, what's the hook on 29?
It's on a new planet that's the day is 29 hours long. It's a whole different
now I'm very sold on this.
And there's a couple extra, there's 5 extra episodes to build the suspense. Okay, he was more recently in 8 episodes of Jane the Virgin, American Horror Story, and The Flash. This also guest stars Ryan Rajendra Black as Johnny. I don't know too much about him. I don't really have any credits or anything. Jack Burning as Walter. This is the old native grandfather. He's had small roles.
He just quickly gets the shit beaten out of him and dies.
That's it, right?
All right. He does a great job.
If you look at his credits, it's usually credited as old native man. It will it has credits like that, no name, just old native man. But I did think this was funny. He's in Red Dead Redemption 2, the video game, as local pedestrian population. So there you go.
All right. Well, that's a step sideways from old native man, but
sure, right?
It's of a type.
Yeah, sure. This also guest stars Michael Copeman, as Carl Magnus, the police captain. Carl Magnus, right? I just want to say he is back. 4 more episodes after this one. I'm just how do they keep bringing this character back?
He was shoehorned into this episode.
I
don't know how he gets in all these other ones.
Yeah, I can't believe he's just not a pilot only guy that helped move, just was you're not on the force, and that's it, right? And that's it. But no, he's back. He's part of the cast, right? Okay, so we've got 2 episode descriptions from IMDb, Kyle. I've copied them both because there were 2
episode descriptions.
Sometimes there's multiples, right? I'm going to read them both. I haven't read them since I copied and pasted them into my document 6 months ago. So here we go. Amanda fights an immortal named Cardoza because he put a hit out on an old Native American man. Amanda tells Wolf all about being immortal, and Wolf also witnesses a quickening. Wait.
Oh, all right. And
Okay.
also,
but it continues. This is still part of it. Amanda and Nick try to save an old American Indian man from a savage mugging, only for Amanda to realize there is an immortal involved, Mario Cardoza, in a centuries-old assassin currently living as a highbrow chef who murdered the discharged code speaker, one of the Navajo-speaking Native Americans who participated in World War II, because the old man recognizes him from 50 years ago. Nick enlists the old man's grandson to help him track down Mario, leaving a small suspicious old photo of Amanda, while Amanda tries to convince him not to go after Cardoza. She ends up shooting herself in front of him and tells him the secret of Immortal's existence in a final attempt to get to leave him alone. It goes on. She is forced to confront Mario at sword's length, and Nick becomes witness to his first quickening. That's one description. The other description reads, Amanda finds Nick.
That description was literally every beat of the episode.
Yeah, we're done after that. The other one says,
I don't want to see the episode now.
That's right. We'll just end now. It'll be real quick. That's how we shorten this up.
All right, that's been our show. Bye.
Amanda finds Nick still crestfallen over the death of his partner, drunk in a bar. She attempts to apologize for what happened, but Nick tells her to leave. Outside the bar, they witness a shooting, but they are too late to save the victim. After fighting off the killers, Amanda sees them enter a car that also contains Mario Cardoza. The car contains this man, an immortal hitman. Realizing
I will never describe myself as riding in a car again.
Right, I'm contained in this car.
I'll be contained by this car. Am I being
contained?
Like,
are you okay? Are you kidnapped right now? Realizing this was not a simple mugging, she and Nick try to uncover the truth and stop Cardoza before he can reach his next target, which is almost irrelevant. So it doesn't matter. Great. There we go. That's that. Woo! All right, Kyle, tell me about the cold open.
We made it. Well, first we get a previously on.
Oh yeah,
we get
do,
like
right?
a 4-minute previously on that goes back through most of that last episode.
Yeah,
and it does. I just wanted to point out they show you the badge handshake again.
They do,
in case you needed to miss it again.
Well, that's the thing, is like it does really happen quickly. Like I was thinking about that again. It's like I missed that like 2 times watching it, that he hands his badge up. Like if you glance away, you will miss that critical bit of information. Like whatever. Anyway, it's fine.
So as we heard in that IMDb episode description, Nick is drinking alone at the bar.
The Imperial, right? Which still exists if you want to visit Toronto.
That's fun.
It is. I was checking this place out. Like no joke. This place, I bet, like it's kind of dingy and whatever, but it's like in a cool part of town. It's also next to a place called the Burrito Boys, which is spelled with a Z.
Into that.
Yeah, right. This looks fantastic. But they look like they have like great frozen chicken fingers. And I'm not saying that as a joke. Like, I bet it's fucking great. Anyway, moving on.
I bet like you're at that place drunk and you're going to house those fingies.
Yeah.
Anyway. And Amanda shows up in a red scarf, like the Shadow, to be like, to I don't know what, just be like, hey, you all right, man?
Yeah. How did she even know to go here? What, like, whatever. Anyway.
Well, I get the impression she says she's been looking for him.
Right.
So I guess
and I think this is like
the
a
end
cop
of that
bar
process
too, right? Question mark?
That would not surprise me.
Because there's like a police officer behind him. I don't know. Whatever. So he's all mad at her and he's drunk. He's like putting his finger inside the glass. Did you notice that? He puts his finger in the glass.
Yes, it was very strange.
Like, I need this alcohol. He's like, what? So good.
Yeah, it's very odd. Like it's almost like it's like cake batter or something. He's like licking out of the bowl.
Right? Yeah, that cookie dough.
Whiskey. Yeah.
So he basically just tells Amanda, like, fuck off. I saw you die. I don't want to talk to you. Like, my life is fucked because of whatever happened. And I'm like drinking the pain away. Right. And she's like, so she leaves. And like, there's like, I don't know. That's it. That's kind of all we know. And it's a strange little scene because, like you said, Kyle, we have a previously on. So like, a big question I asked myself, if remember from like the Endgame podcast we did, is like, what is the point of this scene? Like, what do we learn? And like, am I learning anything I didn't learn in the previously on? I would maybe argue I don't.
Well, I guess what we're learning from this scene is that Nick's in a bad spot and Amanda is looking for him. I guess that's what we learned.
To apologize, right? So okay. So now Nick leaves and it's starting to rain or whatever, and he looks down the alley and there's this dude just getting mugged, right? Or whatever.
Just getting pummeled. Just annihilated.
So
but then things escalate faster because they pull a gun on this guy and blow him away.
Right? And Nick like runs and tackles this guy. It's an amazing like leap and tackle. And then there is a fight. And Amanda shows up to save Nick. Like Nick is gonna get like, is he gonna get shot or I forget what the fuck, or punched or whatever? And then boom, Amanda hits him with a board.
Well, there's a second guy that Nick didn't realize was there. So he's in trouble now until Amanda evens the odds with a 2x4 or something.
Right. So again, I'm wondering like, why is she there? Like, did she really leave? Is she waiting to talk to Nick later? Did this happen like right away? Like when she left? I don't know. Like, it's just strange.
It's one of those. Yeah.
Whatever. Right.
She didn't leave.
She didn't leave. I think there's other ways you could have done this to place them together more, right? But whatever. Yeah. Anyway,
but so at one point, the one thing I just want to call out from this fight is that at some point Nick has a guy's head like he's like whacks him into a dumpster, which right? I thought was pretty funny, which is pretty funny in general. But then does he break this guy's fucking neck?
That's what it looks like.
Like there's like
he does a move where he like
cranes
pulls
up his
up.
And there's a cracking noise. Like they added like a
I think,
and it's like, did he just execute this man?
I agree. I was like, what the fuck when that happened? I think what is supposed to happen is he's got him in a headlock and he takes the lid of the dumpster and brings it up to hit the guy in the head or the jaw. Like the way you'd like hit somebody's head in a door. I think that's what happens. It's weird, but it does look like he murders a man.
Interesting.
Yeah, right.
It's like it looks like straight up murder.
Right.
And the sound effect they added to it really muddied the water on that too. But there's a car at the end of the alley.
Yeah, well, the car pulls up and the guys run into it and like the window comes down and it's this dude, Mario, we'll find out later. And Amanda just stares him down. We get the buzz, which I'm still not sure. Again, if I'm a new viewer to the show, I'm like, what is this? I mean, you can kind of piece it together, I guess, right? But we really don't know the rules yet. Like we still don't know. Like no one in this show has said if your head comes off your body, you die. Like,
which spoiler alert, I don't think anyone says we will see a quickening in this episode, but still, I don't think anyone has ever said those words.
At the end of the episode, they do, but that like we don't know what it is, and like it's really dicey. But then anyway, like these guys just run and get in the car, and like in the next scene, Amanda's like, they got away. It's like you let them get away. Like you said, Kyle, that dude who like Nick breaks that dude's neck or hits him with the dumpster. The guy falls right there. There he is. And somehow he gets from Nick's feet into the car, getting away. He got away.
I thought it was...
What?
See, I didn't even realize it was that guy. I thought that guy was just dead.
Oh,
and the other guy got away.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. Either way, I don't know how these guys get away. Right? I think they.
Can we just refer to death as getting away? It is the ultimate escape.
That's true. So they're now like trying to care for this like Native American dude, right? Who's like bleeding and dying, and he's saying shit apparently in Navajo. Also, I was curious, like, is Nick drunk at this point still? Like, he was fucking hammered.
He should be
5 minutes ago. And I also think that would be interesting. Like, that can be why he loses the fight. Like, I want him to like not be at his best, right? Like, and so it's, I don't know. All these things should be tied together in some way that like they make sense, like instead of these and then scripts, because this is the second sort of and then sort of script we've gotten from this show. Like I just want things to have consequences. Like when Nick drinks, it can be, the result can be that he loses this fight and Amanda needs to step in or whatever it is, right? Anyway, so apparently Amanda can speak Navajo, which is how about that? Also,
that's fun.
Yeah, I guess it's fun. I'm surprised. I think I'm like, oh, when did that happen? I wonder if we'll get a flashback in this episode to that. No, maybe we will at some other point. We'll see. Also, here's a question: what time do you think it is? Because I was asking those questions last episode, and I think it's important in this episode. What time do you think it could be right now at the bar?
I mean, I think it's supposed to be sometime between like 10:30 and 2:30.
Hey, I wrote 10 and 2. That's what I can guess. It's at night. It's probably late. Either the bar closed, whatever it is.
He's been putting in work clearly at this bar, so I would think it's like on the later side.
Yeah, I also like the way the scene is like capped off. Like Nick gets up and he's like, "I'm tired of people dying on me." I laughed out loud so hard. Oh, these people, they keep dying on me. fucking fantastic. So anyway, Amanda Batmax, which I think is great. I love that she's like Batman-y in this, like her coat sounds and she like disappears. Like I think that's all
she's
like
always
cool
just
shit.
disappearing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I'm okay
why
with
not?
that. Also, here's another like, well, now we won't even get into that. Moving on, we're now inside the Imperial Pub. Kyle, what time do you think it is now? This is the very next scene.
I interpret this as like, this is happy hour the next day. And
that's kind of what I maybe think too. I was confused at first. I was like, oh, this is the next morning, but then they start like drinking and I'm like, wait a minute. And there's other cops there. Also, when you like if you look at the footage of this, I don't know if like the police captain seemingly enters the bar with a beer. He is like carrying it with him. And I'm just like, what's
He's outside
happening?
for having a cigarette and then he comes back in. Or maybe it is like 7 a.m. and this bar opens for people getting off of night shift.
Maybe I have no idea, right? Like it's a really strange just series of events, right? And also I don't think I like just seeing all these cops drinking in uniform. Like they're like at the crime scene. Like this person was murdered in the alley of the Imperial Pub. And they're like, oh, well, while we're here, we might as well just have some drinks. It's like, what is going on? It's really strange. So the captain gives Nick 30 seconds because Nick is no longer on the force. He's like, make your case, whatever you want to fucking say. And Nick is like, I don't know if this was like a hit, right? Or whatever, right? He's like, something's up. And he brings up racism, which I think is a good thing. Like he's like, oh, this like old native guy, like, you know what the deal is. Like it'll just get shoved to the bottom of the pile and like no one's going to investigate this. I think that was like, oh, I think that's good to bring up these sort of like discrepancy, or you know, disparagement between like different people in classes. But I'm also a bit confused. Like this is why in the opening I was like, how is this cop going to be in this for 4 more episodes? Like what is this scene about, Kyle? How do you view this? Like what do we learn here? That what, Nick's on his own? Like, okay,
I guess that Nick's on its own and that he can't let it go.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
I think is what we're supposed to think. So like he first tries to work official channels, but they don't work. So he needs to go rogue.
Yeah. And it's a strange thing. Like, I guess from the beginning of the pilot, like, I'm just still not sure what this show's about. Like there's a version where I'm like, well, if he's going back to the captain, like, why did they make him an ex-cop at all? Like if all this cop stuff's going to be involved, like, are him and Amanda going to solve crimes together? Are they going to be kind of adversarial, like, and meet sometimes? Like, is Nick going to use Amanda's like illegal skills to his benefit? Like, I'm a cop, I can't go check this out, but like, you're a thief, can you sneak in there, right? Like, you know, like those sort of stories. Like, I guess I'm not sure why he's an ex-cop at this point.
I don't think we get an answer to that in this episode, for better or worse. But
like, if he was a cop in this episode, would the plot be any different?
Not really.
Yeah. I mean, you could just switch the dialogue by like, Nick is like, I'm investigating this. And the police captain could be like, you have other fucking work to do. And he's like, well, I'm interested in that. Like, that's it. And we move on. Yeah. Like, I just don't know why he's not a cop. We need some good fucking reason. And it doesn't make sense to me. Anyway. So there we go. That's that scene. So now we're in Amanda's apartment back in this, you know, swanky place, right? And so Lucy, who is her, like, you know, what would you call her? Assistant? Mom? Yeah. Maybe ex-lover? We're not sure what their relationship has been. I think it's interesting. I actually really love this relationship. Like, yeah. I want the show to explore more of that. And I think it's different than the sort of relationships we've seen before. Like, it's not like Tess with Duncan, like, oh, this is clearly a lover. It's not like Richie, a protege. It's not like Joe, kind of like Joe, a best friend, maybe has advice, but like is older.
Mentory kind of person.
But yeah, this does have like a parental aspect to it, which she calls out later in the episode. Like, even though like you're 1,000 years old or whatever, I feel like your mother's still, like, which is cool. Like it's different. And I want to see more of that, I think.
Yeah.
So she's organizing her 50th birthday party, even though it's been her 50th birthday, I guess, a few years in a row now. But Amanda is packing up to leave because Cardoza is in town or whatever.
Yeah. She's like, I
got to get out.
Yeah, which is funny because like last episode, she was like, the police are going to arrest me for murder. I must stay. And now she's like, an immortal is here. I must go.
Right. And
so it's like,
we'll question also, like, she's like, oh, he's in town. I think he lives here. What do you mean in town? It's not like he's passing
He's been
through.
here. He's ostensibly a high-end restaurateur in town.
Like what?
And I guess just Amanda's too new to town to have tried all the good gnocchi joints, but like,
yeah, right. I mean, isn't she doesn't she know about the gnocchi? It's so famous.
Yeah. She's such a socialite.
So there's like a ring at the door. Lucy opens the door and Nick walks in. He just he doesn't stay and say like, can I? He's a cop. Well, an ex-cop. He's an
ex-cop. He's rude, Keith. He's a rude dude.
He just fucking walks in. Like, why did she open the door at all for him? I don't understand. Like, anyway, he again confronts Amanda about being dead. Like, I saw you, like, and so she pulls out like a Kevlar vest. She's like, see? And he's like, well, you didn't have a pulse. And like, this is again one of these script things. And I'm like, why wasn't this scene in the last scene? Like, what new information are we gaining from this interaction?
Like, why didn't she just try to give that pitch in the bar?
Right. I mean, they basically had they're having the same conversation 2 times. I saw you were dead. What the fuck? Now we're doing it again. It's so extraneous. We don't need this. Sorry. So anyway, where do we go next here? Let's see.
But what they do start talking about is, for some reason, he didn't point this out to the captain.
Oh,
but
right.
Both of them noticed that these guys were definitely like high-end professionals. Like, this was not a mugging. These guys are wearing like designer shoes and like expensive watches.
Well, I think that's where Amanda comes in. I think that's like Amanda's expertise. Like, Nick doesn't know anything about like Gucci,
Nick points
whatever,
it out too.
Right? And
so Nick is the first one to mention it.
What? See, then see. All right.
He mentions the shoes, and Amanda says, and that guy was wearing like a $16,000 watch. Or something like
what is the point? Nick has already figured it out. Like, I'm asking, like, how do these characters work together? Like, we need to have them complement each other in some way. So, like, if Nick doesn't know something, I'd like Amanda to know it so they can, be friends and shit. It's like he knows all this shit. This is broken. It's broken, everyone. Anyway, we're trying to be more positive on this show. So everybody looks great. Everyone's hair looks nice in the scene.
So anyway, so as this guy is leaving, Lucy then tells us that, oh wait, sorry, I'm skipping a scene.
So that's fine. All right, so we then cut.
So now
we're
Nick
at this small
leaves,
house, right?
And he's going to like a little trailer.
Right, and Nick pulls up in like he's got like this dumpy pickup truck, and I was like, oh, okay, like
that's fine.
Is it a part of his character? Like,
cops don't make that much money. Sure, they can't afford braces, of course.
Well, that's for sure. And they were carpooling in the last episode, which is interesting. Maybe his partner didn't want to ride in that pickup truck. I don't know. That
pickup truck. But welcome to the land of Dutch angles. Because it is. For whatever. Like, I was at one point, I was like, "Is this trailer just on its side?" Because the camera.
Yeah, it's like if somebody filmed this with an iPhone, they'd be like, "You're in portrait mode right now. Like, you gotta turn it the other direction."
Well, yeah.
Although I did some parts of this, I did like. Besides, like the crazy Dutch angles, they do this thing where like they'll be like on Johnny, and then they'll pan over and they go whoop. And during like I called them Dutch pans. I don't know if there's a term for this. Like. It actually kind of reminds me a lot of like TikTok shit. When you see like the camera move with the person, I was like, this actually feels pretty modern and different than the Highlander the series, at least. Like that gave it a unique look, which is okay. But yeah, we're in this trailer, right? Also, again, I want to mention we're firmly in America. They put so many American flags in this show. I don't understand that. Like, why not just leave it nebulous, right? Like we don't know what city we're in yet. I don't think. Like, have they said we're in Toronto? Yeah.
They've not.
I mean, obviously they can't say we're in Toronto with all these American flags. But like they haven't given this place like a Seacouver name yet that I'm aware of.
Right.
So I guess I just don't understand why not leave it up in the air. It's just whatever, right?
It's Toronto.
Okay, so he's there to talk to this kid. And he's like, "Do you know like Navajo?" And he's like, "I'm here to like." Oh, and they bring up the racism thing again. That the kid's like, oh, you're a fucking cop. You're not going to give a shit about like, you know, this is just another, you know, Indian on the reservation that's murdered, whatever it is, right? Like, no one will care. And I think that's fine, but that is not really a facet of this episode. Like, it's just mentioned there. So he's like, do you speak Navajo? And also, here's another question. Did Nick ever ask Amanda to translate that shit, and she refused? Because like Nick knows that Amanda speaks Navajo, and he doesn't ask her when he sees her. Correct. And then he drives out to this trailer to be like, do you speak Navajo? I don't know, whatever. And he's like, speak it. No, my fucking computer does. This is incredible. This is incredible.
This is like they saw all the Batman computer hack stuff and were like, more. So this guy, I guess he has like Siri on his computer and he's like speaking to it to give it commands.
Here, can I play this clip? I just want to play more clips of this because you know, not everybody has this has access to this show, right? You know. Yeah.
This reminded me of like Star Trek 4 when like Scotty picks up the mouse to try speaking into it.
Yeah,
like,
right. That's so funny though. That's
hello
fucking
computer.
Funny.
And this is unironically done.
This is so good. So yeah, hopefully we'll have a good time watching some of the clips from this episode.
I'm a beta tester.
Boom, Dutch.
You play with little video games? No.
Little video games.
Like fail-safes, firewalls, digital security.
Like a hacker.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
You're talking to an artist.
An artist. Okay. Let's see you do something with this, Picasso.
This is it?
Look at that. Phonetic spelling, the best I could do. Type it in, see what you get.
Type? How old are you?
Yeah, man. How fucking old are you? 34?
Translate.
Chi. Searching.
This music too.
Match found.
Red Storm.
What?
Red Storm?
All right. Okay.
Red Storm.
Red Storm.
And I'm just sitting there like, is this name supposed to sound kind of racist-y, or is it supposed to be like a communist thing? I'm like sitting there with like, why is this the name?
We'll talk about this later because we won't really learn much about this. It doesn't fucking make any sense. And I would agree with you, Kyle, that it does seem racist-y, especially because it doesn't come back in any way. It is just like evocative of a thing, right? Red Storm, Native people, like what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
I don't know, and I don't think we ever get a bow put on it. So this is just very odd.
Yeah. And again, here's just a like. We drive a truck to a location. We decorate this this whole fucking thing, right? Like we get all this stuff set up. We hire an actor, this dude, what's his name? Something Black, to play Johnny. We do all these things. And what do we learn from this fucking scene? Red Storm. That is it. Like we have spent a lot of money to get like 2 words across that don't fucking matter. Like, I don't know. Like that's, you know, anyway.
Yeah, I don't quite know. But don't you just love this new Johnny character?
I love. Are you curious? Is this character going? Oh no, I don't think in my IMDb, whatever searches, like it mentions he comes back. Because I was thinking, I was like, okay, is this like part of the cast? Right? He's like the Green Arrow team,
like,
right? He's like the hacker guy.
Yeah, like he's like their young friend who can do computers.
I can do computers. Your little video games. I mean,
Yeah, like they gave this guy a lot of like quirks for something that's never going to come back again and adds nothing to the episode. But anyway, so we cut back to the loft with Amanda, and lo, she's about to have a run-in with Super Mario.
Right, and Lucy, her buddy, is like, I'm mad that you're not coming to my party. Like, I'm mad that you're leaving. And again, contrast that with the first episode, where she was like, the cops.
It wasn't her birthday last episode.
That's true. It wasn't her birthday. All right, so they go into the hall. Like, so yeah, she's about to leave. She gets the buzz in the hall. She's like, fuck, I bet that's Mario. They're like, let's take the stairs. Turns out Mario's come up the stairs and sends some goon, I guess, up in the elevator or whatever. So then it's like a comedy scene. Like the tone of this episode also is like, this guy is like she is scared for her life to like she's got to flee town. And like the second he arrives, it's like laughs and giggles and shit. And I'm like, huh? What is the tone? Is he scary or funny or goofy?
I think he's both.
Yes.
I'm gonna carve out a position right now that I'm not sure I've convinced myself of.
Okay.
I like this guy.
Oh, okay. I don't mind the actor. You know.
Yeah. Well, I like the actor. I mean, I feel comfortable saying I like the actor, but I can kind of get into this character a little bit. That he's like this absolutely ruthless, bloodthirsty guy who like shows it occasionally, but like, you know, in his heart of hearts, he's like this Italian chef guy. He's like this
with an Italian chef with a British accent. Like they won't let you forget that he's Italian. Like they speak Italian sometimes. He cooks Italian food. His name is Mario, but for some reason he always speaks with a British accent, including in the flashback.
Yes,
which I think is set in Italy, right?
I don't know.
I don't remember, but again, I'm just like, all right, whatever. Like, I guess that's just another weird facet to the character. I mean, Highlander's full of this stuff, right? Everybody speaks with strange accents and they're from lots of different places. So
yeah, I mean, Amanda's French.
That's true. Amanda's French, but also is like a bajillion years old. So,
but I kind of like the vibe of this character. That it's
like
just
like Xavier St. Cloud too, right?
Yeah, there's like that he's got two aspects to him. Like he is this high-end assassin, but he's also like there's a point in the flashback where like there's an explosion going on and he's just sitting there like, oh, you got to try this cake or whatever it is. Like this is so good. And there's all this mayhem going on. And I'm like, oh, this is fun to me.
Yeah, I like that.
I kind of like the notion of this character who's like playing the fiddle while Rome is burning. And it's just like, hey.
Well, also, I've notes on this later. Like when we see that stuff, like that's good examples of them showing us his character rather than them just telling us like, oh, he's a real bad guy. It's like there can be subtle performances that like, a character can do like horrible things, but like by drinking wine and like enjoying like the finer things in life, we now understand that they just don't care about people. Like, you know, this isn't impactful for them. Also, I do want to mention this is another kind of scripty thing. And probably my biggest problem with this character in general, like he is a master assassin, correct? That is why he's so scary. But he sends two goons who are maybe not assassins. Like, why do they have these like Gucci belts and stuff and shoes to murder a guy? Like, I just don't understand. Like, we never see him be an assassin.
Oh, that is actually true. Even in the flashback, he's having like he seems to have other people do his dirty work.
Right. So I think I just don't like that aspect. Like they've seemingly given him this thing that we should be scared of him, but like I'm never scared of him. Like I don't get to see him.
He seems to outsource it all.
Yeah, he just outsources it all. And like we see one aspect of him like shooting a gun, being like, oh, this guy can shoot fucking like, you know, Deadeye or whatever the fuck his name is. What's
that's
his name?
one
that's one sure shot. One of the Deadshot. Anyway, so that's this scene, right? I guess.
Weird side note, I don't know if you could figure this out. He is pouring this is intercut, I guess, by between Nick in the trailer and this goes back and forth a little bit, but at one point during this conversation, like Mario's like brought a gift. Like he seems to like Amanda in some way. Like he's like threatening to her, but he like actually seems to maybe not think of them as friends, but like he seems to genuinely harbor no ill will towards her.
I guess in a pretty threatening way though. Like I think he's like, we're cool, right? With the looming threat of violence. I don't know. It is strange. I do like that he brings this like gift of like some sort of like aperitif or something, right?
I was trying to figure out, do you know what that is? Because it's in like a cool bottle. He pours it.
Yeah, it did seem cool. I couldn't track. I didn't hear what he said in the thing or whatever.
I don't think he says it.
Oh, well
I just wasn't sure if there was a way to just identify what they were talking about.
I have no idea.
Or what they were drinking.
Yeah, I don't know.
He invites her to come by the restaurant and have his gnocchi.
Right. Oh, also, a big part about this is he does reveal to Amanda why this Native American dude was killed, which is that he, I guess, saw him and recognized him, and he can have no part of that, right? Like, and he also says, guys like that won't give up. And I'm like, guys like what? I don't know this guy. He seems to be an old man who lived in a trailer by the bay, you know, like, What do you mean he doesn't give up? I don't know. Is it because he's like this code talker? We find out that like he's like a man of principles. He fought in the war, right? Or well, he didn't fight in the war. He was a translator in the war, or a code talker. I don't know. I have no idea what that line means. It doesn't give me anything. So anyway, fuck that part. So we cut back to the dumpy trailer, and we get this Red Storm stuff.
They find like a trunk of the grandfather's stuff.
Right. That's got like a secret compartment in it at the bottom, which Nick is able to somehow identify. Also,
like he spots it and just like rips it.
He rips it. Nick, he's looking for evidence, right? And like the kid Johnny hands him like this pack of papers. He's like, "Oh, what is this? Oh, just fucking receipts." And he's throwing them everywhere. And then he rips open this thing, and there's photographs. And he just starts. Everything is just being thrown around. This person is a police officer. Like, you have to catalog this stuff. Like, if you like. It's important how you find it, what order it was in, like all this sort of stuff, and you're fucking it up right now. Like, this is significant shit, and he's a horrible detective. Nick Wolf is not a good detective. He's bad.
This is known. So
now we get this code talk. This is where we find out this code talker thing, right?
Well, again, like, yes, this is where we get this aspect of it, because Mario doesn't know. Mario didn't know that part. Mario just knows that this guy
recognizes him, right?
Recognized him and maybe saw him in the past. This is where we get we find out that and is this what Red Storm is?
I don't know. And I don't even know why like Nick is interested in, like, he's seeing these photos. Like, these should be nothing, like, right? It's like, I don't know why any of this would be significant, right?
They do see something significant.
Well, then he sees Amanda, right? In this picture.
Yes, he sees...
And on the back of it, it says like Amanda Montero and Mario Cardoza or whatever. It said, and I'm like, I'm looking at this fucking picture, and I'm like, where is Mario in this picture? He is not in this picture at all. I don't think. I have no idea. Also, why it does? Okay. Let's talk about that later when we get to the flashback, right? But I don't know. Nick isn't doing a very good job. Like, I feel like this is a story where like Nick is presented with information and doesn't do detective work on his own. Like, I don't know. Anyway, we cut back to Amanda's place, right? And Mario wants to know who Nick is, because I guess he's a witness to all this stuff too. And Mario seems to be like obsessed with like no trace, like no one can know who I am, which is really strange given Mario's profession. That he is a high profile chef. He has won awards. He has had his picture taken. He's on the fucking front page of the newspaper. And he is like, this guy didn't see me, but it's also like, I just don't understand. It's so stupid.
It is a little bit odd because it's like, I get that he wants to kill this guy who might know he's immortal. I guess that makes sense. But the fact that, like Nick would know nothing about that. So it's like,
it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. And it's also strange, like how rich is Mario? He must be rich as fuck. And like he's doing this side hustle what's that?
I mean, I think it's very clear that Mario is loaded.
Right.
At some point, he pays someone $500,000 for something in the context of this episode. So,
but he's doing this side hustle as a chef. So I guess it's really like love of the game, but also like man. What a that sucks. Like, if I was immortal, would I be hustling in a kitchen every day? Man, I've done that and it stinks. It's really rough. So I don't know if that's how I'd spend out an eternity, but whatever.
He just wants to share his gnocchi recipe with the world.
He does. It's a gift. It's his gift. It's what he can do.
I would say his grandmother's gnocchi recipe, but it might predate the discovery of tomatoes in
That's
Italy.
Right. It probably does, right?
So who knows?
That would be a funny thing if like he mentioned too that like he does like old Roman food or like like or like it was hard to incorporate tomatoes into my cooking 600 years ago, but I did. Like,
but I did. Yeah, I figured it out.
Okay, so. Now we keep going back and forth. There's a lot of cuts and there's a lot of weird edits in this show, and I think it's to keep the pacing moving. But I think also because of the budget of the show, they film a lot of scenes just in the same place. Like we keep cutting back to Amanda's apartment and kind of like resuming a scene, and I think it's just to kind of keep the pacing going. But it gets monotonous, I think. So we're now back to this like dumpy trailer. The computer they're hacking on is called a microdot computer. I don't know if you saw that. I thought that was fantastic. So is this where they're like scanning the picture?
Yeah, so they are like trying to like scan and enhance.
Right. This is weird. I had a note in here, and it's been a minute, but like I have this note saying like I feel like they didn't know how to end this episode, so they like splice these or the credit or the commercial break. So they like splice this this scene like apart to make it work, and it's really strange. So
we get a blast from the past. Yeah, we get a blast from the past line here of like everyone has a double, and all I could think was I've seen doubles before. I've seen doubles before.
Right.
Love
very
it.
Good. Kyle, I do want to tell you. So I've been drinking out of this little cup this whole time. This lovely little chalice.
It's a beautiful cup.
It is a beautiful cup. This had vodka in it. So new twist to these episodes is to make it through. There's drinking, and it's like 10 something in the morning. But also I'm about to open this nice little bottle of Korean sake and serve it over ice. So throughout the rest of this review, I will drink this entire bottle. It's like a challenge. This will be wonderful. So. This
is purely voluntary.
But it's
here
okay.
we go. That looks good.
Well, sure. It's you're like it looks good. It looks like clear liquid, but it smells delicious. Wish you could smell it through the microphone. A little toasty.
I can. Welcome to Smell-O-Vision. So in any case, Johnny is now in trouble though because Cardozo's goons have realized that like Johnny has been snooping around. Like he used those photos to try to find Mario.
Correct. Like who is this guy?
Like he thinks that Mario and Amanda are important in some way. So he's like hunting it down, and somehow one of Mario's goons finds out that this kid's looking.
Right. Okay. So yeah, let's talk. I want to talk about this scene. So we now cut to the Coco Lazone restaurant in Toronto. Sadly, this restaurant is permanently closed. This was a real restaurant in Toronto. So this goon is like, we have a spike in the security net, he says.
There we go.
What the hell is he talking about? Like, what the fuck is he talking about? What security net? This guy owns a fucking restaurant. Like, this guy's website is, I'm sure, is the most like basic fucking thing. It's the late 90s.
It probably doesn't have a website. It's like GeoCities. Right? I don't know. It's
and like
all yellow.
What is Mario keeping on some sort of like high security server or what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. But my
interpretation of all this was that he somehow has people monitoring for like web traffic related to him.
Right.
That's what I
think that's interesting. I think that's like this is the first time that like this show, like even Highlander series, I don't think, other than like when Callus was like, oh, he's gonna release the Watcher CD so everyone will know about us, like where they dealt with like some technology stuff. Like this is a pretty different, I think, that they're like, oh, like could people search for us? Like maybe, right? Like, you know, people, like there's databases now, like that didn't exist in the early 90s when Highlander the series started, right? I think that's okay. That's kind of cool. I think this is a bizarre scene where Mario is cooking alone in his kitchen with a pot of tomato sauce, and he's like, okay, oh my god,
too much garlic.
He says, is there too much garlic? He hands his goon, the security guy, the spoon. He tastes it, and he's like, it's good. Then Mario says, that's right, because there cannot be too much garlic. And I'm like, why did you ask in the first place? Also,
he's just bragging. He's just like, that's right, baby.
How long has he been cooking that he fucking, like, this guy should be the most brilliant chef? And he's like, I don't know, is there too much garlic? You fucking tell me, you immortal like taster, right? Like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm very upset about this stuff.
I kind of enjoyed that because it was like, hey, he's like, it's a communal thing.
That's the number one thing.
That's the number one ingredient in his gnocchi. Keith.
Love.
It's
community.
It's
family, right?
It's family.
Oh, like Vin, right? We love
like Vin.
Very good. All right. So now we cut to some cafe where Nick and Amanda are getting lunch. And I just want to point out now, despite the fact that last time they met, which is kind of a little interstitial scene we skipped over, they meet in this elevator with like a fisheye lens. It's a whole bizarre thing. In the last scene, they talk and say, hey, do you want to go for a walk? And they go, yeah. And then we see them sitting down having lunch. And I'm like, why don't you say, do you want to get lunch? We don't see that. Like, this is just so broken, right? Like, this is not how you fucking do this. Like, God damn it. Do you want to go for a walk? Yes. The next scene is them going for a walk and talking, right? And then at some point they changed it. My guess is, I don't know, maybe they need a station, whatever, the locations changed. Like, all these things happen when you produce a show. And that's okay. But then they don't revise some of the script problems that it creates. Like, all you have to do is say you want to go get some lunch, and then you cut to them having lunch. Don't say you want to go for a walk, and then you just cut to them not going for a walk. All right, I'm yelling. Let me have another sip of this wonderful Korean sake.
All right. So
Nick asked Amanda if she knew the old Indian guy. That's a question that was asked. And I was like,
yeah,
what?
Finally.
So we get Nick confronts her with this picture. Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, like, this is like from the 20, or what is this year on this?
1952. Explain this picture.
1952.
Right? So we get our first flashback of Highlander the Raven. Thank God, right? We get a title card saying we're in Warsaw, 1952. And so that old dude, what was his name? Harry? What was his fucking name? He had a name. He had a name.
I think that's Harry.
Sure,
yeah.
Harry. Harry, the old man.
Yeah.
He is in a pickup truck in Warsaw taking pictures of, I guess, Amanda and Mario having lunch, right? And Mario's going on and on about the veal paprika, which is just like a veal paprika dish with tomato gravy and shit. But Amanda's got to get it. Anyway, I'm talking about the food here. So
Amanda has just snuck into this building and exchanged. She thinks she's basically stealing a Ming vase.
Yes,
is what she thinks her assignment is. So she pulled an old switcheroo,
right?
Apparently, and she has now made it out with the vase, and she's happy about it.
Sure. And she's just she's like a subcontractor. Was not
the plan.
Right. So she sits down. Right. Go on, Kyle. Go on. I'm interrupting. I'll keep drinking this. You talk so I can sip.
So she sits down and he's just like, oh, you got to try this. This is so good. Are you sure you don't want some? Kaboom. The building just explodes. And Amanda immediately realizes that, like, she must have been the one to deliver the bomb in some way, which, like, I think she would have looked inside the vase.
I mean, also wouldn't it have been like heavy as fuck?
Yeah, because it's full of explosives and chemicals and stuff. I don't know. Amanda was not asking questions though, so she all of a sudden realizes her complicity in this and is very mad at Mario about this, but he's just like, hey, whatever, man, it's all good, eat some veal.
Yeah, right. He's drinking like an Aperol.
Well, yeah, he's just like, it's all good.
Yeah, he orders a second Aperol and his Aperol is full, which is very funny. But I also don't understand why did he do this?
Well, I guess we know he's an assassin at this point. We don't know who he's hitting, but he's obviously killing someone.
Well, see, why didn't they make that clear, right? Like, why are
they
like,
do? Lucy says at some point, like, he's an international assassin. Like, I know
he's an assassin. I don't understand this Ming vase plot. Why at some point didn't he reveal, like it just seems like he wants this fancy vase to fence or whatever, or because he likes the finer things in life, right? But why? No,
I did not get that impression.
So okay, so then then this was a ruse to trick Amanda to, like, he gives her this plot, like, this vase is worth $100,000, go get it. But really, he's like willing to sacrifice the vase or pay the money to Amanda to be like, oh, like, I'll use you to go in and blow these people up and no one will. So the way he's like a master assassin is just that he gets other people to do stuff for him so he doesn't get caught.
I don't know. I agree with your commentary earlier of, like, we never actually see him do the master assassin thing.
Yeah.
Like, this plot he hatched is perfectly fine. Like, that makes sense. And, like, I like that Amanda would be upset about it or whatever the case may be. But, like, we don't actually see him do anything.
Yeah, and I wish I also knew the target. Like, I want some motivation. Like, I mean, even just to mention, like, oh, you didn't know so-and-so was there and you know what he's done, right? And, like, whatever the fuck, right? Like, something to give a motivation. Like, because, like I said, I'm questioning, like, was that just for shits and giggles? Did he just want the vase and figured, I might as well kill some people while I steal it, right? I don't know. So that's that.
Yeah, and one thing I do like about this is like you now have a certain amounts of like moral choice are starting to be introduced into this thing.
Yes.
Because Amanda was used in this way in the past with Cardoza, and then she like chickens out. Right? Like she does not seek to punish him for doing this. Like even though she's complicit in killing people, and she just lets it go because she doesn't want to challenge Cardoza. So now we have like this instance again where like Cardoza is back, he's doing things, someone she knows might even be in the crosshairs of this guy, and she has to decide whether she's going to make it her problem or not.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
So, you know, at least like moral wheels are turning for her.
They are,
of course,
right? Runner
still,
fight, right? Is like the theme in these 2 episodes, it would seem.
Yeah, and she's once again, like last time she ran, will she fight this time? Spoiler
Can I
alert.
ask a question, Kyle?
Yes.
May I be allowed a question?
Mm-hmm.
Why
I don't know. This is not question and answer time.
Why is Harry taking photos of Amanda and Mario? Like he is a code talker. He is a person that translates things, but suddenly he's in another country.
I think at some point during that description they revealed that like he somehow stayed in government service after.
Oh yeah, I guess so, because this is also in the 50s.
Like,
so the war's over.
Yeah, like
so
I think
now
he's supposed to be like a
whatever.
I assumed he was like a Cold War like era operative at this point.
All right. See, but like this would be important. Like if we knew who the target was that Mary was after, suddenly it would all make sense. Like, this guy who's working for the CIA or whatever now, or the military, like he's taking pictures of this guy because he's meddling in international, like, boom, I got it. All the pieces start to make sense, right? I'm like, is he a Watcher? Like, we don't even know if the Watchers exist yet in this universe. I'm not sure if they will. I just don't know. I also is this connected to Red Storm? Is this like the beginnings of Red Storm? Is this why he's discharged? Is this like, I don't know. Like, does he become obsessive about this? None of this stuff is like fleshed out. Like if none of this makes sense. Okay.
Like,
okay.
You know, one thing I was almost expecting was that that this guy at some point was responsible or involved in hunting for Cardoza. Like that because of this, like they knew some kind of op was going down and they think Cardoza is behind it. So he's been trying to find him.
That would make sense.
And then like, for whatever reason, because he's immortal, because whatever, like the hunt stops eventually.
Yeah. I mean, that feeds into Cardoza's line about when he said guys like that won't stop. And I go, guys like what? I have no idea.
Yeah. And it's like maybe he was hunting this guy and just thought, okay, well, we didn't get him. He died.
He died. He must have died, right? Or something. Yeah. He's old and retired.
Been 50 years.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? And
but
then
now we have something, right? Motivation, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing this show is like lacking, like reasons for things.
Yeah. And this guy was like a tenacious badass in his day with like who wanted to get this guy. And now we care a bit, maybe.
Mm-hmm. This is a strange thing. I'm Keith's notes on this. Sorry, Kyle was like checking the time, checking the.
No, sorry, you actually froze.
Oh no.
So yeah, we're getting like a yellow. Just so you know, you're getting like a yellow ping on internet from me right now.
Oh no, a yellow ping on the internet. Well, I hope I don't freeze more. We'll see what happens. I do want to say also, like when we talked about highlight of the series, we also talked about this notion of what are the flashbacks, what happened, are they the characters' memories, right? Like what are they, right? Like this instance seems to posit this as a memory, because like when we cut back to the cafe, Nick has to be like, Amanda, like what the fuck, like snap out of it, and she goes yeah. And she like snaps out of it. So I think that's interesting. I'm curious if that will continue. It's one of those kind of just, I don't want to say discrepancies in the Highlander universe. It's a thing I've always wondered about, like what are the flashbacks, right?
And we talk about it frequently just because occasionally you'll have one that's like not from Mac's perspective at all, or
right, or like how did someone know that information? I don't know, like right.
Yeah.
So who knows how important that is? But it seems like in this universe currently, the flashback is a memory.
Yeah, which it didn't bother me at all. I kind of liked that.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I like more than the memories. I think that's more fun. Yeah, we get this double conversation. Yeah, Amanda's just like, it's just a double. Everyone has a fucking double. That's what the deal is. So when they leave the cafe, Nick gets a call from this guy, Johnny. And Johnny's like, hey, man, I found out like some shit. And like, he's got a computer graphic going that is fucking hysterical of like Do we have this? Probably not. Probably I do. Who knows? Cardoza hacking, shooting. I don't know if I do have a clip. It's okay, but like it's just digital shit on his computer. He's like, I think there's a problem. Like this guy won like a cooking competition or whatever it was. Like,
yeah,
and this shit was like recent. Like this guy needed to do so much hacking. Like there's so much involved in finding out the identity of this person, right? But like we will also find out that they are on the front page of the newspaper. So like that's to me is really strange. So Johnny hears like cars drive up. So he's in like some remote place where like cars are here. Like, and so there's like assassins that just want to shoot up the place. Also more script problems. Here we go. Because I can't help but bring this stuff up. I promise you, everyone, this is the bridge between Highlander the series and Highlander the Raven, where Keith cools down his commentary on like the minutia of these episodes. This is the bridge. We're getting there. I'll be more relaxed. The great
rainbow bridge,
right? No, but this is nuts to me. So he's like, oh, this picture's from the 50s, but we have this other thing. He's like Dick Clark. So this is Johnny on the phone. He's like, this guy must be like Dick Clark. And then Nick Wolf says to him, speak English, Johnny, English. And I'm like, this is all wrong. Like, what do you mean speak English? He is in the sense, I know what you're saying, right? Like that speaking, like, it's like they wrote these scenes differently, or one was improv, right? Like he should be saying speak English to like hacker
like
talk,
technobabble.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
A bunch of technobabble. Oh, we found this and the pixels of this, like, have a discrepancy of blah, 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 and that doesn't make sense. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he could be like, well, the photo's real. It's like, oh, what? Like, I don't fucking know. But he's like, speak English. And I'm like, that's a non sequitur. Like, stop with the bad fucking talking. Anyway, moving on.
So they shoot the hell out of this.
Master assassin. They blow this place full of holes and they blow it up. They could have literally just walked up to the door. One person could have walked up to the door, opened it, and shot this kid in the head. I swear to God. Like, what the hell? Like, really keeping a low profile, Mario. And again, Mario doesn't come to do the job himself. He's not threatening.
He's like really just embraced this like a contractor based economy. Like why do have employees when you could subcontract out to low people, not have to give them benefits? So it goes. So anyway, so Amanda and Nick go out there to, I guess, try to find or rescue Johnny. And of course, they they're entirely too late, of course, but they don't find his body. Ooh.
No, and Nick is also like, this is all my fault. And I'm like, yeah, it is, buddy. Like, you're a shit dude. But yeah, I don't know. Like, Nick yells at Amanda. He's like, where's Cardoza? I'm like, you're the detective, man. Like, Nick does so little detective work in this show. Like, he's just mad at people that he doesn't have the answers, it would seem. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know how you think police work works, but it's a lot of that. Swear to me. No. So anyway, this is where we get the clip we played at the beginning where, because like Nick has at least kind of figured out that Amanda knows a lot more about Cardoza than she is sharing.
Right.
So now we get this reveal where she's going to be like, look, okay, fine. It wasn't a Kevlar vest. I am immortal. And she steals his fucking gun. And
his gun is huge. This is a giant heavy, this gun is like this big. It's so big. Also, how Kyle, tell us how she steals the gun. Tell us about that.
She like pretends to kiss him while driving.
Well, and like leans she jumps over on top of him. She's like on him. She could kill him. She could kill other people.
And then while she does that, she grabs that gun and ultimately turns it on herself.
Correct.
And he's just like, no.
Oh, so good. It's so good. Okay, a couple things. Once again, it seems like we've had these issues in some other Highlander episodes where like they're trying to make it a mystery. And I feel like that's what this show wants, right? Because it's got this detective cop element to it. Like we've also seen instances of this, like way back in season 1, fucking, Amanda Wiss.
All day,
right?
every day.
We love her, right?
Yeah.
Randy McFarlane. Like, and our biggest wish was like, why isn't she using her reporter skills to gain access to this, right? Like that's her art.
She was just there.
Right. She was just there to be a thorn or something. And like, I'm asking myself the same question here is like, once again, we've spent all this money to set up a trailer, to hire this kid as Johnny, to do all this shit, to like, look at the photo, blah, blah, blah. And like, at the end of the day, a man just is like, oh yeah, you want to know what's up? Here it is. Right. And it's like, why are we wasting our time with these mysteries? Right. Like, it's a mystery show that has no mystery, right? Like, it's strange.
Right. Well, and the thing that ultimately makes her want to tell him is that Nick is convinced he's going to go after Cardoza. Right. Like, that is the actual issue. It's not that they didn't like figure it out.
No, it's just he knows he's got to talk to him. And Amanda's like, you're going to get hurt if you do that. Right. And I get that. That all makes sense. You know, I feel like I'd rather her bop him on the head and take out Cardoza, right? Like, there's also, I have in my notes, like, I drew a lot of parallels to like other like, I guess I'm just surprised that the secret is revealed so early. And I'm curious where the show's going to go, because I feel like shows like this, that tension is like pretty important. Like, it drew to mind Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, a show I loved when I was younger. I think it's a great show, but they really did a lot of work to make sure they didn't reveal that Clark was Superman for a while, right? Like, it took a long time, right? Yeah. And there's so much fun that can be had with like keeping that secret. Also, like, I mean, obviously in that show, Lois is a reporter as well. Like, she's like piecing together stuff like, oh, that seems weird. Isn't it weird that Clark is like that? Like, why don't we have this here? Like, again, Nick is a detective, and I want to believe that he is a good detective. I am not convinced of that. Nick seems like a shitty fucking person. Like, he is a drunk ex-cop who has no skills, who is just like off the fucking handle. Like, I don't know. I want him to solve this mystery. I think that's more compelling. Or something. I don't know. I want it to last more than 2 episodes. So, or
they just needed, I think their plan was they just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off. Like, they just wanted him to know, and this is how they did it. But like, I feel like it's still pretty odd the way it all plays out.
Sure. And I get I to some degree understand why they'd want her to know right away. But I guess I'm still curious, what is the show going to be once that happens, right? So this was our opening clip. We didn't play the end of this clip, which I'm going to play now because it is too good to not play. I hope everyone loves the shit out of this. It's amazing. Also, Elizabeth Grayson has great comic timing in this. She's really funny. Yeah, I don't know. Here we go.
Amanda! Crazy bitch, what did you do? How dare you? No! Why?
Forever and ever. I want this just like on a loop.
How dare you?
You crazy bitch! What?
Why?
Fucking fun. That's funny. Also, this is funny too.
Well, I know chivalry's dead, but how about a little common courtesy?
The hand going up. I like the hand going up. That's funny. I like it. All right. Anywho.
Yeah. So
he's like, drops her like
bitch. And then he drops her like a sack of potatoes
on
when
the
she
concrete.
wakes up.
Hysterical.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Also, I will mention here, there's a lot of, I think I kind of mentioned it last time. There's some horror elements in this that I think are really interesting. Like the way they like reanimate when they like the sound effects are like whoosh, like, and they kind of jolt back. It's really different than Highlander the series. And I'll have thoughts on that at the end of the episode, but I think it's really cool. That there's this new element to it, and if it was in the reboot, I would fucking love it. I love how like disturbing their like reawakening is.
Give a little body horror as part of this.
Yeah, a bit, right? So now we're in Mario's restaurant, right? We got some like Godfather music kind of playing, right?
Yeah.
And some dude comes in and he's got this envelope with money in it, and he's like, the target's gonna be at the church, right?
It's another subcontractor, which I don't understand why he needs, because he already has all these goons. But
sure.
So another subcontractor comes in. He's gonna pay him $500,000, we find out, to do something, to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But then this guy starts asking questions, and Mario, who's like in the shadows, like,
yes,
Mario's obscured himself, just like hauls off and shoots this guy in the fucking ear,
right, to prove that he's like, you know, like, don't mess with me. And this guy laughs about it. He's like, cool. Like, what? This is so bizarre. Like, this is never this is such a fictitious like representation of like an interaction like this. Also, Mario, who wants to keep a low profile, is like, would you like to meet me at my restaurant? Like, what the fuck? Like, if they ever do capture this guy, they're gonna be like, well, what do you know? And the only information he will have is he met at this restaurant, which is a pretty big deal, right? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, especially based on who we find out the target ultimately is.
Yep.
So,
so now, okay. So yeah, we're leading up to whatever this assassination plot is. That I guess is maybe here I would think is the culminating point of this episode. It's like, here's the next plot, right? Like, and now like in another show, it'd be like, all right, we identified we identify the villain. We see what their motivation is. We see what they're doing. We know we need to stop them, and now we've learned their next instance of it. Right now, we need to like that's it. That's the culminating piece, right? It's like we got to stop it from happening. The clock is ticking, right? So that's where it seems like we're going. So we now cut to like they drive through this like garage. Amanda and Nick drive through some like garage body shop. They park. They go up these stairs to like this gym, right?
Gym? I'm like, why are they here?
And the fucking kid Johnny, who we have learned has escaped murder by many bullets and explosions, is waiting. He's waiting there next to another garage, and he comes out. Like, he was there before they were. I'm like, how the fuck is he there? Sorry, I'm screaming again.
But why were they going there in the first place?
Another question. What is the significance of this location? Like, was Nick like, look, I know you're in the car. I'm going to the gym, and I guess you're just coming with me, right?
You're just gonna watch.
Why did they go? Why did they go
there? And what's Johnny doing? I don't get it.
Everything in this fucking script is broken. I swear. And I know I'm being harsh on this episode. I know I'm raising my voice a lot. We got to keep it cool. But nothing against many people we love in the show who are part of the show. But stuff is just not working right, and it's apparent. And I hope everyone finds it interesting to see all this stuff called out. I really do. Like, I hope people think that the screenwriting stuff is kind of interesting, because like, I don't know. I sometimes, I know when I was younger, like you see a movie and you're like, why isn't this good? This is why. This is fucking why. This is the things that like make good movies good. Like when you watch a proper like detective story or a murder mystery or whatever the fuck it is, like follow the character motivations, like the ones that are like really well regarded. And I guarantee you it will make sense from T to B, baby. Like, you're going to be like, oh, I see where these characters are coming from. Even the stuff that's not on the screen, like the motivations, the unspoken motivations will all be clear to be like, okay, I can see what's not written, but it makes sense, right? This is the opposite of that. They go to a gym to meet a stranger that they don't know is there, right? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. So Kyle, tell us about what Johnny says and their interaction, because he confronts them with a gun.
Yeah, well, Johnny's just like there pointing the gun at him, and
Johnny has a gun.
Know. So, like, I just don't understand. And there's this whole dialogue about having like 6 different credit cards. I don't understand what any of this is about. But like, he is upset, and Amanda just walks up and it's just like, just give me the gun, you dweeb. And she ultimately steals the gun from him.
Right. See,
so the situation is diffused, but.
Perfect example, right? Like this is a problem with the show, right? Like we've in a sense, well, I shouldn't say a problem with the show. Again, we'll see where it goes, like episode to episode. I want to see where these characters develop, right? But like right away, I know I'm like having issues with Amanda revealing her immortality. Here's a perfect example where Johnny is pointing a gun at 2 people. One of those people could be killed, the other cannot. So when Amanda goes and is like, give me the gun, like, you know, Nick can be like, no, what are you doing? Like, why is Amanda so like ballsy, right? Like, she's going to do anything. Like, she's unstoppable. And he doesn't understand that. And that can be fun to watch, right? Because like Nick's upset. We as the audience fucking know the secret, right? Johnny doesn't know either, right? Like that's more fun, at least. I don't know. It's more interesting than this. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Lots of Dutch angles. So we learn about Cardoza. We learn he's an assassin. And then they immediately go, so he's in town. who else is in town, right? Like there's this mention again that he's in town. This feels like some version of a previous script where he wasn't a chef that had maybe been in Toronto for years.
Yeah.
And what are we calling it? Ciranto.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. Until we find out a name of this, and I don't want to look up if there's some internet-y name for this city. Ciranto it is for now, until the show tells us otherwise. I mean, that was our deal with Seacouver too. Like, I don't think we got Seacouver till what, season 5 or even 6?
Oh, I thought it was
season.
I'm trying to remember.
I do remember season 5. This is crazy that I'm mentioning. I think season 5, the episode is the Valkyrie, and Mythos has a newspaper that mentions the fucking white supremacist rally, and it says Seacouver. And that's like the first. I don't know if they ever say it, but that's like the
officially
first,
official,
right? Mention. And I get that it was like an unofficial sort of like writer's room term for it that became popular in the fan community because they knew about it, but like the show never acknowledged it until like maybe season 5. So I'm going to see where this show acknowledges what geographically
where it is,
right? Also, Highlander season 1 took place maybe in the deep south, in the swamp, sometimes
in the bayou.
Yeah, right. Mountain men. It had all sorts of different stuff going on.
That's true. It had swamp people. It had mountain people.
Yeah. Okay, so at this point, like they're like, let's look at a newspaper, and so they're all in the gym and they look at this newspaper. Amanda even says, I want dirt on Cardoza. And I ask myself, why? Why do you want dirt? Like, again, what's the plan? Is the plan to, if you get the dirt, then you give it to the police and they can arrest him? But like, there is no need for dirt. Amanda knows that he's the murderer. Like, we know all of this stuff. There's no need to get dirt, right? Another problem with the script, because this character would never say those fucking lines.
So they somehow find out that there's a cardinal in town.
Yes, front page news. Front page news. The cardinal and Cardoza are pictured using the footage from the film that they film later. Like the newspaper's made of like whatever. Anyway,
that's bananas. But so they are gonna. I guess Cardoza is a prominent Catholic in the area too. Like he's,
and it's 6 p.m. tonight. 6. Again, I ask in a lot of these scenes, what time is it? They call this out. 6 p.m. All right. It's fine.
Which, I mean, I guess his restaurant is going to be closed for the dinner rush, but that's
yeah, who's the sous chef? Who's the rest of the fucking...
I like to imagine it's that other goon.
All right.
The goon with speaking lines is the sous chef. That's why he's tasting the tasting the red sauce.
Yeah. Also, like, this could have been just like if they walked by a newspaper dispensary, they would have garnered the same amount of information that this entire scene was, right? Like, why is Johnny there? Does Johnny need to be in the scene? Go.
Does Johnny do anything else for the rest of this episode?
Johnny is not needed in this whole episode, period.
Yeah.
He provides nothing. A man, like that's the broken problem with this thing. It's like none of the chess pieces actually make sense. Like, it's like frankly, set up a chessboard that is like overlaid on just bullshit.
Which honestly, like, the same amount of information about this whole thing could be gleaned if that trailer is just the old man's trailer and Nick breaks in and finds that suitcase,
right? Because the police barely looked for anything, or maybe they didn't look at all, right? And like he goes in and he does the deep dive and finds the thing, right?
And literally the only thing that matters is that photograph, is finding that this guy had the photograph.
And frankly, you don't even need him breaking into the trailer. Like, you need evidence that Nick has special information of. Like, when the other cops see the picture of Amanda, they don't fucking give a shit. They don't know anything about this, right? Like, but he does, right? Like, so we don't even need to go to the trailer in some way. But like, I mean, I get that you have to make a TV show and it's fun. Yeah. I am fine too. But like, that's how when you like deconstruct some of these scenes, like, you want to ask yourself, like, well, what information are we getting? What's the important thing? And then you ask ourselves, like, how can we get that information? That's when we start combining scenes and like figuring out, again, good movies do this very well, and you don't have to talk about it like this. Anyway, so on the front page, blah blah blah. Now we cut to the church, right? Again, this is 6 o'clock at night.
Take me to
Godfather
church.
Music. The cardinal is some like creeper looking dude coming out of the church, and there's like people gathering around. They've got like barricades up because I guess they know something's up, right? Maybe, or is it just because the cardinal's in town? Wait, hold on. I have a question. did they say what cardinal this is?
I don't think so. I don't think they named that character.
Okay. Just out of curiosity.
If they did, it's like just like on the newspaper. I don't remember them saying it.
I mean, I know not all, like, they're like, he's in town. Does Ronto not have a cardinal?
I think they control wider geographical areas than
I thought they were like
town.
Specifically like a cathedral has a cardinal, right? Like I thought that I don't know. I'm not Catholic, obviously. If you can tell from our podcast, I have no idea what the rules are. Like, but you are right about like they do control, like they're like regional managers basically. So I guess I'm interested. Like the cardinal is in town. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I'm obviously getting too deep into this. So Nick shows up. Nick and Amanda show up. And he even says like, hi to an officer.
There are only 5 cardinals in the United States.
Well, okay. What about in Ronto? I guess they don't have a cardinal.
That's fine. The question.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, this is delicious. So anyway, they are like too late. Like they're trying to warn the cardinal or whatever. They're like, we got to stop everybody. And then plow, plow, the bullets go flying.
First off, I'm just dying because like we didn't get that good a look at whoever this assassin who Cardozo hired was. Sure. But when he's like about to take the shot, first off, he looks like such a dweeb. Like he's wearing these goofy glasses and a black beret. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Who is this guy? But they pull a little tricky trick. The cardinal is not actually the target. The target is Cardoza.
What?
So this entire plan that they came up with, or the way they figured this out of like who is in town, was all incorrect.
Right. It's
like they got lucky because Cardoza's actual scheme was to fake his own death, was what he actually cared about, and just wanted it to be a high profile event.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why did Cardoza do that?
We know why Amanda tells us he did it.
What is that?
So, which is that Cardoza is perhaps a wanted international assassin who's being like tracked by various government agencies, which makes even stranger that he's a high profile. Yeah, which makes even crazier that he's a high profile chef who's like meeting with the cardinal.
Right.
So like those two things
don't line
up.
And it also doesn't make sense how he's so obsessed about getting like this like Native American dude and getting Nick, and like it's like, if you're going to do this, why are you worried about these other things, right? I don't know. I mean, maybe to some degree.
Well, which actually the Cardozo's goon points that out later. He's like, why is the Navajo kid still alive? And he's like, who cares? You're dead.
Yeah, that's
what the goon says.
That's a whole weird thing too, is like they recount what happened. Like that they shot up that trailer. Johnny escaped into the woods and was chased. Like they knew that's a weird script thing to me.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, like they acknowledged that he ran through the woods and we chased him. And then they just leave it at that. And like it's like, wait, you just let him get away? Like why? Yeah,
like he just outsmarted you.
Why not have the script say we fucking shot the place up? It exploded. There's no way he's alive. And so that's it. And we don't like, now I'm like, his goons are morons. Like they let this dude escape. Like, why didn't they keep chasing him? Like none of this shit makes sense. Okay. So here we go.
So that Amanda recounts that like actually Cardoza is a genius because this now every department in the world will like close its files on him because he's just been killed in this high profile way. It doesn't make sense really.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. Like there's no connection really between this Cardoza cleaning up the Native American plot and his independent plot to disappear.
Right.
Like in some ways it's almost like this should be, and I don't even know if this makes sense. There should always be a connection between the two, where it's like, this guy knows I'm alive. I got to try to clean this up. And like, this is messing things up for me. I need to hit the reset button on my life.
Yeah.
Because like the secret about this current identity might be out. So I got to go.
That could give us some like good background into like just what immortality is like, right? Like, you know, like some of the rules of the game, right? Restarting and just like the pains of immortality, whatever it is. Anyway, go on.
Well, it's just, but they appear to be independent things.
Mm-hmm.
like he appears to have been planning this independent of the notion that he needs to shut up the old man,
right?
For who might know he's immortal. Like they're really just seem like they're separate ideas entirely,
right?
It's not like this old man somehow screwed things up or like got him back on the radar, that like, hey, the guy who did these crimes in the past might still be alive and active, like,
right.
And now he needs to disappear.
Yeah, I had at some point in my notes that like I'm surprised that the old man seeing Cardoza isn't the cold open.
Yeah,
like that would give us
that
some,
would
like,
make sense.
It would make sense. It would let us know why it's important to Cardoza. It would see, like, I mean, like you said, oh, guys like this don't stop. I mean, I'd like to see that because I don't know who this character is. So like, I'd like to see him badgering Cardoza with questions, showing up at his restaurant. Who knows? Like, there's some way to structure this differently. Anyway, also,
but they're outside this just church. Independent ideas.
Yeah. Cardoza is being zipped up in a body bag. Someone with a camera takes a picture of Cardoza like this, like it's like click, click, like right. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what?
Why are you allowed that close to the body?
Yeah, weird. But like Nick and Amanda are talking, and Nick's like, I'm gonna go after Cardoza, and I'm like, that line doesn't make any sense. He's right there. He's literally there in a bag, and you're like trying to figure out how to go get him, and it's like,
no, I think she means like I'm gonna follow his body.
Well, but like, see, they don't talk about that. They don't talk about that. And we are about to hit some of the biggest shitstorms of this episode. I swear to fucking God. The timeline is like, this is like a Marvel movie where it gets so complicated. Like it's too many time distortions or something. Okay. So we now cut to Mary's restaurant again. It's still in the dark. Like I guess it's like the last scene there. This is also one of these like again the timeline thing. I think they set up a bunch of scenes. They film a bunch of scenes with the same setup, right? Like we set the lights this way, and we just knock them out, and then we just drop them into the episode wherever they need to be, and it becomes confusing because the setting is like.
Are they back at the restaurant yet, or is there still the conversation at the church?
I have notes on that. I'm like, there's notes later that are like, they chopped up this conversation at the church in weird ways because yes, Kyle, I think you're right. When they're at the church, there's some Spanish guitar that plays, which I think is really fun. I like the more fun this show gets, the better. Like, it's weird that it's just a music choice, but like, I'm like, I like this vibe more than the weird Matrix shit.
There's such a mashup of different music in this episode. Like
there is.
A solid half the episode is like jazz saxophone stuff. Mm-hmm. And then there's like the Matrixy shit. There's this Spanish guitar. Yeah. And then like during the fight scene that's coming up, it'll be like intense music with like MIDI orchestra hits. Like,
the music, I think I wrote down, it sounds like The Search for Vengeance or something. I think like this. I think it was this episode. Oh, but we have this conversation with Nick where like they're like, well, let's go after Cardoza, and Amanda's like, nature calls. I gotta find the bathroom, and so she goes.
Before that, they do have a somewhat interesting conversation.
Tell us,
which is Nick is like, we can't let it end this way. Like Cardoza's gonna get away with it. We gotta go after him. And Amanda's like, what are you gonna do? Tell the cops about it. Like,
oh right,
you're already at rock bottom. They're just gonna think you're a psychopath.
Yeah.
And this guy will just end up killing you anyway. And Nick's like, well, people will believe it if you tell them. And Amanda's like, no, like, they'll be afraid, they'll hunt us down, and like if we're lucky, they'll kill us. Like, so she's like, you can't go telling people about this. It's in that context. Then she's like, but by the way, I have to pee first. So but actually that's all a ruse to go meet up with Lucy.
Right. So Lucy was a pager, and brought a car.
Yes.
And so she got tickets like for flights to Paris and somewhere else, right? Too, like, because she's like,
oh,
you can leave on this. Yeah. And she's like, oh, well, you can also leave on that flight or whatever. But Lucy doesn't want Amanda to go after Mario because she's scared for her. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is like kind of a fine scene, although I do wonder what happened to Lucy, because like Lucy brings the car, then Lucy gives Amanda the keys and Amanda takes it. And Lucy is just...
She takes a cab home.
I guess she takes a cab home. It's just so funny.
Why not?
But I really like the relationship with Lucy and Amanda. Like, I'm great. Interested in that. I think that's like, it's different.
Best relationship in the show.
It is. It's the only one that actually feels like a relationship. Like I'm into that. So now back at the fucking restaurant, right? It's dark as shit. And Mario is like, oh, I hate the smell of the morgue. Oh, really? Okay. Mario's out of 2 seconds ago. Mario's in a bag next to Nick. Now he hates the smell of the morgue, right? So anyway, so he's given a bunch of money to start over in Zurich or whatever by like his like, you know, familiar or whatever, right?
His familiar.
I don't know what to call this guy.
I love that. Go on. That's great.
But anyway, and he's like, well, now nobody fucking knows you're immortal. And he's like, one more doesn't he? Boom, and he blows this guy away, right? And it's like,
yeah.
I don't know if that was a good move or not. That doesn't seem. He does it in his own restaurant. He's trying to clear his name, like to be like the slate is clean. And yet he is like leaving bodies behind. His body has disappeared from the morgue. Like that's suspicious as shit, right? Like all this stuff does not read master assassin. Like this reads moron. This like, I can't believe this guy, nope. Anyway. So Kyle, what time is it right now? Like, I don't understand. Like,
well, it's suddenly nighttime.
I guess suddenly nighttime.
And Amanda,
but we cut back to the church and it's daytime. Like this is like, okay. Amanda took a break to pee. This is where the editing padding issue of the show like really comes in. Like where it seems like I'm curious how these scripts are written. I would not be surprised if scenes were written for this script, but not locations, like, you know, setting, it doesn't matter. Right. And then they just start combining them together. It's like, again, maybe because of budget, I have no idea, budget reasons, who knows, but like, oh, film this one in the elevator. Oh, also film this one on that set too. Like, oh, we can do another thing at the church. Let's just put that scene at the church as well. But it creates all these problems, or they're doing editing things to just like keep things moving. Like you want that energy, right? You don't want to spend 10 minutes in one location, even in a movie. Usually like you try to move things along, right? I don't know what's happening, but we cut back to the church and Nick runs to the back, finds Lucy, and is like, where's Amanda? And I'm like, is Amanda okay? Was like, how stupid. Nick is supposed to be a detective and he's so stupid. He perhaps waited 6 hours, maybe he waited 24 hours for him and Lucy to have this conversation while he thought Amanda was like constipated. I have no idea. Like, I
think you're supposed to think like 10 minutes has elapsed on the Nick timeline. He's just
on the Nick
like,
timeline,
okay.
On the Mario timeline. This is where like
he's already escaped the
universes combined, and like he's in a bag. He's been taken to the morgue. He has escaped. He's gone back to the restaurant. Oh my God. Okay. So we're back in Mario's restaurant. Amanda is there. She is gone from peeing to the car to home to change into a whole like leather number or
She's
something.
in her raven suit.
The raven suit. Yeah, right. Do you think the raven suit should have had feathers? Do you think she should look like a Philadelphia mummer? I think so.
Yes. Yes, and that explains the string band.
Speaking of musical choices, isn't it weird that this second episode features a lot of string band music? So anyway,
time.
There's a lot of like Matrix music, and so she just finds this body and then is like on the top of like a parking garage. Like
this is the hardest, strangest cut. I have no idea, like, because Mario's gone, and then I don't understand where they are.
No,
but she's just there, and she finds Mario. Like, and
this is like the way
and he's just like standing on a roof.
He's standing on a roof, and it's like downtown. There's skyscrapers all around them. Like, there's a version of this. I had in my notes that I was like, wait, because I was trying to figure out. I'm like, where are they? And like, based on what had come before, I was trying to figure out what would happen next. And of course, a show like this, you can't use logic like that to figure out where humans would be in real life. Like, I was like, this should be at the airport. Both of them are set to leave, right? Like, you know, Lucy's given her tickets to go, right? That's even like an impetus to get in the gate, right? Like, and Mario was like, I'm fucking leaving for Zurich. Like, boom, we're at the airport together now. But that's not what happens here. We're just on some random roof across the street from the restaurant because Nick eventually goes to the restaurant, finds the same evidence, leaves, and is like, oh, look, they're there fighting on the roof. I better investigate that. How are they there? Why are they there?
Yeah. So Cardozo's like, oh, Amanda, like, I was hoping you'd find me, but now you'll never get to try my gnocchi.
And he takes a briefcase full of money and it's like, boom, and he throws it. It's just like, what? Like,
I thought that was kind of that was
It was
strange.
funny
I was
as
like,
shit.
but I was into it. I was like, oh, I'm in. Like, I kind of like this character. It's kind of funny. Like, he's menacing. Like, I wish we saw him do actual assassin stuff, but
Yeah. I don't fight. I just like also like that actual assassin stuff is what makes the tension in this fight, right? Like, because we see his adeptness at killing people, we now get to learn that, like, well, when Amanda, like, we know Amanda, I mean, of course we know Amanda from her appearances on Highlander, but like, we know how good she is. Well, when we now see like this guy's got tricks up his sleeves, maybe a special move. Like, we don't see him use a gun during the fight. Like, Xavier St. Cloud had gas. Like, he was kind of an assassin-y sort of guy. And he wasn't an assassin, but like, he murdered bunches of people to get to his ends, right? I don't know. I don't see what this guy's like shtick really is, other than he makes gnocchi. Like, it's strange.
That's what
so again,
you're forgetting when he
up,
reaches down and picks up a handful of gnocchi and throws it in her eyes.
Hot marinara in her face.
Yeah, right. That'll really get you.
So Nick shows up, can't get into the restaurant, right? Even though Amanda somehow could, I guess because she's a master thief. But then he just looks across the street. They're fighting. Oh, and
like you can see the massive shadows of them fighting, and like you even hear the sounds of clanging. Like
what are the shadows of them fighting?
They're like shadows. Oh, there we go.
Oh, what is that? What is that? Oh, that's just the opening of The Gathering from Highlander the series, and on the right is.
Wait, what? No way.
Yeah, the shadows Nick sees when he's viewing them fight is literally from 1992, and he's seeing nuts. Adrian Paul or whatever fight Slan the Cat on the bridge in Seacouver. So
yeah,
another example of like, can this get cheaper? I don't know. We'll try, right?
Yeah. And there's even like clanging noise. Like, it almost implies that he can hear them fighting from where he is.
Right.
So I'm also just like, are there no people on this street? Like, can just like, if he is seeing this, isn't the entire city witnessing this and certainly able to hear it? Anyway.
Yeah. Also, I did have questions. Is Amanda using a different sword?
I don't know.
It looks different to me. Also, I don't think I even realized we did. I should mention this. We did some new art for the podcast. Our new logo. Yes. So I actually made the logo this time. So that was fun.
It looks great.
Thank you.
I like the native callbacks in it.
Yeah. The sword that's featured in it is Amanda's sword. And then I was rewatching this episode, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not the sword. And I don't know if they changed their sword in this show or not, or if it's just in this episode. I don't know. I'm confused. But it used to have like more of a hilt. It was a little more decorative. Also, like, if you even look at like the promo images, like the cover art on the box, like she's got the big hilt, the hand guard and stuff over her hand. And I feel like in this fight, she's fighting with like a single hand broadsword that has like, just your straight or it's curved, thing on it.
It's not super interesting looking.
Yeah. Who knows? What do we think of this fight? It's I guess it's like kind of okay. There's some horror stuff in it that I liked.
Go for it.
Like there's like he smashes his sword against the roof of a car, the hood of a car, and pulls it across it. The screech that comes out of this is fucking that is awesome. Great. It's like it is horrifying, and I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Like, the more sound design, the better. I think it's great. It's really cool. And again, I'll have some thoughts on that later when we close. But yeah, she ends up like flipping over him. It's a whatever fight, and she wins. Cool.
I like there's like a little bit of a story in it within the fight that I think is potentially interesting. That's like something that almost feeds into this, the Raven trickster character. Like, he seems like he is a better sword fighter than she is.
Right.
Like, when they are just kind of standing there fighting, he seems to consistently have the advantage over her.
Right.
But like, she's slippery, she's tricksy. Like, she ends up using the environment by jumping on these cars and moving around. And that's what ultimately, she's able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat because of like, those kind of adjacent to sword fighting skills. And I think that's cool. I think it's like good. It's like, we're just not going to see another version of like Adrian Paul was kind of just the Terminator. Like, he goes into these fights because like we all know as the audience, like, he's basically the fucking best.
Yeah, and he's fucking awesome, right?
It's very rare that we're in a fight, and unless like the show really sets it up, you're not often like concerned that Duncan is outmatched.
Right. Yeah. There's certain episodes and certain villains where they make clear, and also it's that's like proof positive of how it works, right? Like we can be scared that he fights Callus. We can be scared that he fights Xavier because they've given that character like enough stuff to be threatening, enough like mental stuff, even for our hero to be like doubting themselves or whatever, right? Like that's all good stuff.
Yeah, and I like that this flips the script a little bit, where like maybe the default for this character is, you know, there's a reason she doesn't want to fight. Like she needs to be more creative than someone like Adrian Paul would need to be in these fights. And I'm curious to see if that is consistent throughout, or is like the MO of how she has to do it. So I kind of liked that in our first sword fight, we get elements of that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I would be curious, like what the style is, right? Like, yeah, how she wins, right? Because that's important. That's cool. So anyway, so Nick is up there. He can't get like a shot. He wants to help, but he sees this quickening happen. What do you think of the quickening? The quickening is a little bit different, I suppose. You know, it's a little bit more like flowy and dancey, which I kind of liked. I hope like us. I mean, like I remember like Adrian Paul's quickenings early on, like. He was figuring them out. Amanda hasn't honestly had a bunch of quickenings in Highlander the series. How many has she had? I'm trying to.
She has the one in Lady and the Tiger, and that might be it. I don't remember her getting a different one.
Right, and
in the series.
I appreciate that they want to make it look different. Absolutely, like for sure. I mean, that's Adrian was doing that too. Like every one of these can't be the same. It's kind of fun to switch it up. So I'm curious to see how like the quickening develops, like the language of that for Amanda. I'm sure it'll be cool. That'll be something that I think we can really appreciate. Of course, they have not explained what a quickening is. Like all she does when Nick is like, "What the fuck was that light show?" She's like, "Oh, that, my dear boy, was a quickening." And then they're like, cut to commercial, and I'm like, and the audience is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
I'm sure they just cut to the end of the episode. I'm sure they cut to credits. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is right, because they already cut after the fight, and the denouement of this episode is like, oh bro, like that was tough. Like we fought it out. What the hell was that? A quickening. Boom. Episode's over, and they play cartoon. There's cartoon, you know. A raven flying around a wolf. Also, they choose to play the jazz music is the music they chose to put on the quickening, and it's very odd. Well, that's why I think it's a stylistic choice, that like hers was a bit more dancey and like flowing or something like. And I'm okay with that. Also, it's interesting. This is the first quickening we see from Amanda in the show, so I think the flowingness is very like. This is supposed to be Amanda's character. Like as we see in Highlander the series, oftentimes, like, well, I guess I'm saying that because like I think Amanda is trying to establish what her quickening is, right? In the series, we'll see like different quickenings based on like the Colonel, for instance, is a crazy.
That's the most extreme one, or the Wrath of Kali one, where he's like
Wrath of Kali, right? Like all that stuff, like that's a bit ridiculous. But like. The quickenings are influenced by the person they're absorbing. And this doesn't feel like that. I'm curious if it will get into that later, or if we'll start to see different Amanda stuff. We'll see. So that's kind of the end of the episode. Let's talk about it. I've got some questions right away, which the first episode was called Reborn. I don't know if anybody was really reborn in that episode, other than we saw Amanda die and come back to life, but we've seen that 100 times and it's not important. I think it would be more significant if that was like a spiritual rebirth of like, it seems like there's a theme in these two episodes about like running away or staying, fighting or fleeing, right? And we get hints of that with Amanda too in other episodes in the series, although like I shouldn't say contradictory, conflicting ones. Like, you know, there's one with Luther where she's like, I'm fucking going after Luther, and they play that laser music, and Duncan's like, no, I gotta save you and protect you, right? Like I feel like there's part of that here. I wish that was more in the first episode. Like when she's reborn, it means like I'm gonna take ownership of this. I'm not running anymore. I'm here in Siranto to stay, right?
That Siranto also just sounds like a town in the Flintstones, but go on.
Love it. This episode is called Full Disclosure. I think it should be called Partial Disclosure.
Disclosure, like, a little bit of disclosure.
Yeah, they still aren't telling, I think, the audience like enough. Like again, what's a quickening? Like she mentions you can die. She's like, oh, well, I got to go kill Mario. I was shocked that the next line out of Nick's head was, I thought you were immortal. You can't die. And then triggering the, oh, well, you see, my dear boy, when your head gets cut from your body, right? Like we got to learn that stuff to some degree, or at least the fucking new audience members do. What is Red Storm by the end of this episode? Do we have any clue? I don't know. But I did mention
Not a
sound
clue.
design in this episode and the quickening thing, and like there's all that sort of stuff. And I was curious watching these. I was like, oh, we're going to see this moving forward. I think it's pretty cool. Here's some tidbits on it. So the sound designer on all 22 episodes was Ken Cade. They've done lots of projects, but just 2 years before The Raven, they did the sound on the Poltergeist: The Legacy show. There's also, so that's like the horror connection.
That might be the horror elements.
But
yeah.
there's also a sound. So there's a sound designer. There's also a sound editor on this show who was Murray Barker. They also did the Poltergeist, and they did the Crow show right before this at the same time. So no wonder, like, I'm like, there it is. That's where we're getting like this sound library from, that it's got this like horror tinge to it, which I think is pretty cool. And I think like the new blood, that's like something I really think is neat about this show, like the sound design. Although the sword clinkings were more clinkings and less clankings, I don't know. They could have been beefed up. But Kyle, do you have any final thoughts on this episode in our last like 5 minutes? Let's make it.
So, you know, this episode I feel is definitively better than the last one.
Interesting.
Despite all, there's a lot of just like we need not beat them over the head with like all of these mechanical elements that are obviously
we need not.
Which we've already flagged and are like pretty glaring, and like that is bad. Like that is bad, just like the mechanics of show making. But I care a lot more about the characters in this episode than I did in the last episode. I was way more invested in this relationship with the antagonist than I was in the previous episode.
Sure.
We had a villain who felt very Highlander-y to me. Like,
oh, interesting.
Of like just this kind of
like those strange affects and stuff.
Yeah, that like the show kind of loves doing, and like, you know, not all of them are equally successful, but they're all memorable. Like, we remember Slam the Cat fondly. We remember, Caleb Cole fondly, even though these characters are just kind of nutty.
Yeah,
like,
but those are like such an extreme though. This character is so like bleh compared to them. I mean, he's just like,
he's less loud, but like
yeah, that's true. He's less loud. He fucking gets creepy in the apartment. He like puts his like face on Amanda. It's like real creepy, man. Like it's gross. Like
I will remember this character.
All right.
Like, for all the kind of absurdity of it, I am invested in this Mario character. And I like, even though they don't spell it out, that there is this moral connection of like Amanda, at the behest of this character, has done wrong. Like, she's made the world a worse place.
True.
And she did not take accountability for that. And like, I'm not clear that that's why she confronts Mario here, but like, we at least see some moral components. Like, there is a version of this episode that I think works well.
I agree with a lot of the stuff you said, especially this like moral component thing. And it's a thing that I don't think is explicit in the episode, and I wish it was. And it'll be interesting to see how it becomes more explicit. I also wish it was made explicit in the pilot, like, because that's a good, like, I get like Amanda in a lot of ways is like a foil to Duncan, right? Like Duncan's so serious. Like Amanda, obviously, like she does bad things. Like she's like kind of gray, right? Like, but we like her and she's funny. Like she's oftentimes also like comic relief, which is, okay. But like then you go to make a show about her and it's like, well, she can't be exactly the same character. Like Amanda is not like the way like Duncan is a crime fighter. I never envisioned Amanda as a crime fighter. And I'm curious to see how the show handles that. And I wish it was just made more explicit, that like it was just stated like, what am I doing with my life? Like I have to make a choice. I mean, it doesn't even need to be that grand. Like, what am I doing with my life? But like a conscious decision, like I'm always running. I'm not going to run anymore. And I think that's also great because it tells the new audience who this character is, but also does like the narrative work that we need to like reorient to this character. Because of course I'm bringing all this baggage from like the series. Like, who is this person? Like they're a thief. They don't care, blah, blah, blah. But here they are caring. Like, why? Like, give us a scene where we just take the barometer and move it, and go boom, this is the new character, or this is the path the character wants to be on, and like now we can go on that path with them. And I don't think the show does a good enough job in the script to do that. But whatever. I mean, it was that. So what a fun time. We don't know what Red Storm is. And Kyle, do you think in episode 3, we will see the birthday party? Apparently 34 people, I think, have been invited to this.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, like the birthday
100%.
party's over. Like no one cares at all. Like I think I would have loved at the end if the denouement was the birthday party and she went to it. But we'll see. Maybe next episode will open with the birthday party. So thank you everybody for listening. It's been another longer episode. These episodes
We didn't rate it.
Oh, okay.
Keith,
Sorry.
No, you get to go first, Keith. How many dishes of delicious gnocchi would you give this episode?
A full. I'm giving it 1. I'm so sorry. 1 star.
Oh, so you're giving this less than the pilot?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Wow.
the stuff in the script in this episode feels like the most broken thing. I also know I've mentioned like they spent money to put a trailer, hire an actor, like perhaps hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent to make this thing happen. And oh my God, like that's a lot of money. And I would hope it makes sense. And this doesn't really make sense. Like I think the like production crimes of this episode are egregious.
This has been Production Crimes with Highlander Rewatch.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Something's weird. But yeah, so I give it one. Oh, I didn't say like what kind of thing. I didn't even write in my notes. You asked me how many plays gnocchi, Kyle. I guess how many the Cardinals of C. Ronto? How many Cardinals are there? I mean, usually there's only one, but you know.
Here, I think there are actually 2.
4?
I'm giving it there are 2. There are 2. I give this a 2. Honestly, okay. There's a world in which this is the pilot, I think.
Yeah, I'm also curious. Like, it's interesting that these episodes weren't like made into like a movie. This feels more like it should have been like a 2-hour made for TV movie or something, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted because I'm babbling.
No, that's fine.
Look, it's almost empty.
I give it a 2. I think this is like a step in the right direction. There's more here. I want to eat this plate of gnocchi.
That's right. We're going to be eating that gnocchi
Super Mario
all month. It's gnocchi month here at Highlander Rewatch.
Yeah. We have not made any Super Mario jokes this time. No one has said Mamma Mia. Nobody has made reference to Fire Flowers. And I appreciate our restraint on that.
Wow. All right. Well, congratulations to us on that. And on that note, join us next time when we review the Highlander : The Raven - episode 3 : semicolon Bloodlines. Bloodlines. Interesting. Who knows what that'll be about?
No way to tell. You'll just have to join us next time.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. We've been your Rewatchers. I'm Keith.
This is Kyle. Bye-bye.
Bye.